This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for December 14th, 2024. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Trouble from the bottle. If you disqualified people based on their personal flaws, you would get rid of so many people, including Martin Luther King Jr., a plagiarizer, Mahatma Gandhi, a pedophile, Benjamin Franklin, a terrible father, Winston Churchill, a white supremacist, Steve Jobs, a heartless boss, Martin Luther, an anti-Semite, Charlie Chaplin, a predator, Aristotle, a misogynist, Thomas Edison, a petty man, Charles Dickens, a horrible husband, and many others. Peter Hegseth has a drinking problem, according to the fake news. Now the following is anecdotal, but nonetheless relevant. I have seen people with drinking problems, and they chase after the bottle as opposed to anything else. In truth, the Democrats cannot argue on his merits, and so they try to critique his character, just like they did to Kavanaugh. I do not know if anything more will happen with Hegseth. However, I want to talk about the general outlook of the rest of President Trump's nominations. The loyalty pledge. President Trump has been accused of having a loyalty pledge for his nominees to his cabinet. The cabinet serves at the behest of the president, just like any other employer. If someone does not do their job at a restaurant or a grocery store, the boss has every right to fire them. President Trump indeed fired statistically more people than other presidents, about 5 to 10 times as many. It is also true that President Trump had more resignations than average, a little over twice as many. But if we are to base things on that standard, remember that nearly 92% of Tackling Kamala's staff quit. However, none of that matters in the least. Recall what we know about the deep state.
So how do you define it?
Well, the way I would define the deep state is an increased willingness by more and more government civil servants to pursue political objectives rather than stand up for the values of the institution they're a part of. They are not neutral. They're not politically neutral.
It seems that President Trump fired people for being loyal to the deep state and not to America. It also seems that they resigned since President Trump would not tolerate their loyalty to the deep state. Even so, firing cabinet members is the jurisdiction of the president, just like pardons. But you will not hear that on the fake news. So it is not a loyalty pledge, but just an agreement to do the job that the boss gives you to do. President Trump needs his staff to work with him. After all, he is already on the job. President Trump is on the move. CNN has admitted the obvious. Brandon is irrelevant. President Trump is already speaking with major heads of state, including Ukraine. Of course, CNN wants you to think that this is unprecedented, but it is actually quite common. Both Obama and Brandon did this. We already know that President Trump was able to get Mexico to enforce the border with a phone call. What else can he get done? If he can de-escalate some of these situations, such as the missiles that Ukraine just got, it will make his time in office much easier. A lot of international situations are dangerous. As such, I take you to the unstable nation of Syria. The Syria Situation. The situation in Syria goes all the way back to President Obama. Assad kept pushing the envelope to the red line that the then president had arbitrarily drawn. Supposedly, the use of chemical weapons was this red line, but Assad used chemical weapons anyway. Again, this is one more situation in the Middle East that the United States has no business in. It is not about oil. We have plenty of it. This is all about getting a regime that is loyal to America, and making money for the military-industrial complex is just a bonus. Recall that most of the problems that exist in that part of the world come from the West drawing borders and installing rulers like Hussein. Now Assad has been deposed and is plain disappeared from radar. I have no reason to believe that the next person to take power in Syria will be a bastion of human rights. In that part of the world, you trade the snake you know for the snake that you do not. Either way, what happens in that country is of no concern to America in the least. From the politically unstable Syria, I take you up north to Europe, where people are arrested for criticizing the invaders from unstable countries like Syria. Police using AI. I reported a few weeks ago that the police in the UK are arresting people for the crime of posting about the crimes of invaders on social media. Now Europe has 2 new programs to help them in their anti-human crusade. The first is a program called Vigilant, an AI program that combs through social media to look for harmful content so that people can be arrested. The second is an AI program called FEMA, which looks for patterns in these posts to spot hate speech.
Fun fact, hate speech has never been defined by a court of law.
If these programs are not already being used by law enforcement in America, they are on their way. AI is a tool and is neither good nor evil. A hammer can be used to pound a nail or break bones. In the same way that AI is a tool, so are guns. A CEO is dead. Capitalism is like an ugly but sturdy bridge over a turbulent river. It is not the prettiest or most comfortable structure, and sometimes it feels a little shaky. Other bridges look prettier, but will collapse at a moment's notice. This one has managed to get people to the other side safely. Nowhere is capitalism more attacked than with healthcare. Never mind that people in Britain are dying in waiting rooms, or that Canadians come here for treatment. The CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was killed. I would bet the farm that that criminal was someone who was denied care. Officially, the criminal just saw corruption. But I have my doubts. The present system is not perfect. And having a claim denied is something that I would not wish on my worst enemy. However, I prefer dangerous liberty to peaceful tyranny. This sadly was street justice. But sometimes a good guy is able to take down an actual criminal. Penny is innocent. Black Crimes Matter decided not to burn down buildings during Brandon's term. Not because they were afraid of the rule of law. After all, cackling Kamala would have raised funds to bail them out. They did not wish to harm her candidacy or her boss. Now that President Trump will soon be in his rightful place, they have anointed a new saint. Like most of these thugs, his name does not matter, but he was put down by Daniel Penny. This brave man took down a person who wanted to die killing his fellow subway passengers. Because Penny was found innocent, Black Crimes Matter is already planning protests that will result in more fire. I know that the following clip is from an unrelated case, but it shows just how unhinged these people are.
I hope that we're going to get a verdict that is say guilty, guilty, guilty. And if we don't, we cannot go away. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
The only way to stop violent criminals is to arrest them or take them out. While the Second Amendment could not be invoked in this case, it is important to remember how vital our rights are and how easily they could be lost. Canada gun grabbing. Trudeau is perhaps the farthest from a bastion of freedom in North America. The Canadian government, to my knowledge, is not restrained by anything remotely similar to the Second Amendment. Granted, that has rarely stopped elected officials in America, but I digress. Trudeau will now be confiscating these guns and wants to send them to Ukraine. People in Ukraine are allowed to protect themselves, but Canadians cannot. People in Ukraine are allowed to protect their border, but Americans cannot. Nothing good can come from this. Despite potentially getting all of these guns, Ukraine is still a very corrupt country. However, let us go back to America for some more corruption. Release more documents. A federal judge from Texas has ruled that the FDA and Pfizer need to immediately release thousands of documents for investigators. Remember how they previously said that they would have all of the documents ready in 75 years?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
That would be the end of September 2097. Now their timeline is much shorter. How much shorter? I do not know. The official reason for the delay is that it will take time to get the documents together and some things need to be redacted. However, in reality, if they take long enough, they will get past the statute of limitations and can escape prosecution. They have already begun releasing documents. Now this comes on the heels of a major revelation out of the House of Representatives. Conspiracy theorists were right. The House Select Subcommittee on the China virus pandemic concluded a 2-year investigation. There's a lot there, but the short version is...
Select Subcommittee on Coronavirus Pandemic basically said all the conspiracy theorists were correct. Every single one of them, no repercussions, no retractions, no apology from Rachel Maddow, none of it.
The long version: 1. The virus likely emerged from a laboratory. Masks were ineffective at stopping the spread, making shutdowns unnecessary. The 6-foot rule was not based in science, but may have made it easier to track people. 4. The NIH funded the Wuhan lab that started this whole mess. Officially, the DOJ is investigating all of this, but I doubt that anything will actually be done until the obscure date of January 20th. Speaking of things that need to be investigated, let us talk about the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th, pardoning the innocent. I mentioned last week that Brandon set a precedent by pardoning his son. Now Democrats have no place to argue when President Trump pardons every nonviolent offender from the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th. However, that is not enough for him. President Trump wants to indict the members of the January 6th committee. Officially, this is the political persecution by the FBI that liberals have been warning about. However, when you get past the hysterics of it all, there is a very serious crime that needs to be investigated. In an honest court of law, the destruction of evidence is a very serious offense. This was not just 1 or 2 documents. Over 100 encrypted documents were deleted before they were to be sent to House Republicans. The committee that investigated the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th was made up of 7 Democrats and 2 rhinos. The punishment under Title 18 United States Code Section 1519 is 20 years in prison per offense. Prosecutors can try this as a bulk charge, especially if it refers to a folder, or there can be a charge for each document. Benny Thompson, the chair, may end up getting all of the blame, leaving his co-conspirators to get off with nothing more than destroyed reputations. There's a lot of justice that needs to be done when President Trump takes office. One area that needs heavy-handed justice is FEMA. FEMA still denying aid. OMG has revealed something that we again already knew. FEMA is doing nothing for North Carolina. Mr. O'Keefe tried to just ask to report on their comings and goings to show that they were doing the work. However, they are just sitting there and doing nothing. It is private charities and churches that are doing the heavy lifting. They should have to do the work that they are paid to do. So why are we funding FEMA if they do nothing? Even if they did something, why not give the money to the state government to distribute? There would be a lot less overhead and the funds would be better allocated. One more department that needs to be on the chopping block. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.